Joining us now, the former Trump National Security Advisor, former U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, former Trump supporter turned critic of the former president right now, John Bolton. Ambassador, thank you so much for joining us. As you know, Trump has now pleaded, as I just said, not guilty twice in 24 hours in the classified documents case down in Florida, the January 6th case here in Washington. How will history remember this moment?
Well, I think it will remember through the reverse prism of what the outcome of this case and the documents case turn out to be. If he's convicted, this will be another significant point in history. But if he's acquitted, the only thing that anybody's going to remember is that he's acquitted. And that's why, as correct as this course of action is, nobody should think that the indictment alone achieves anything. It doesn't achieve anything more than simply being a prerequisite to go to trial.
Well, the fact is that no president, sitting or former, has ever been criminally charged along these lines. This is a historic first.
Yeah, no president's ever been convicted either. That's the headline that's going to matter. It's like Nancy Pelosi famously saying he will always be impeached. Well, that's just wonderful, because he was always acquitted, too. And the acquittal, especially in the first impeachment trial, made him even more convinced than he was before that he was bulletproof and that he could pretty much do what he wanted. So, you know, as Machiavelli said, more or less, you must either caress a people or crush them. And the way Trump has been treated so far by beating these earlier charges is he's been caressed and he's been made more powerful, certainly in his own mind. So while I certainly agree with both of the federal indictments, I just say again, they better get a conviction.
We shall see what happens during the trial. One aspect of yesterday's hearing, as you know, Ambassador, that clearly frustrated Trump was the judge who was presiding, referring to him simply as Mr. Trump, not Mr. President, as he's called, of course, at the Gulf resorts and elsewhere. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I think that is perfectly consistent with my take on Trump's personality. But, you know, what he translates that into immediately is, how am I going to get even? How am I going to turn this to my advantage? And I'm sure while he was steaming at the moment, it was transmuted on the flight on Trump 1 back to New Jersey about how he was going to make the most of it.
Many of Trump's 2024 Republican rivals clearly have struggled to counter his election lies. I want you to listen to Governor Ron DeSantis today. He was asked if the 2020 election was stolen. Listen to this.
It was not an election that was conducted the way I think we want to, but that's different than saying like Maduro stole votes or something like that. And I think those theories, you know, proved to be unsubstantiated.
Does that go far enough? Why does it seem so difficult for so many Republicans to fully rebuke Trump on this issue?
Well, they can speak for themselves. I think as just a matter of pure politics, forget, you know, morality and legality and all that stuff, just a matter of pure politics, the person who's going to take the nomination of the Republican Party away from Trump is the person who takes Trump head on and rolls over him. And if you're not prepared to say that Trump's conduct was unacceptable, that he may well have violated the law, and that in any event, he's not fit to be president, as his first-term record shows, you're not going to beat Trump for the nomination. So a number of these Republican candidates, I think, could win a general election against Joe Biden or any other Democratic nominee. But to get there, they can't go around Trump. They can't ignore him. They've got to go over him. And until they get that mindset, I think they're doomed to lose.
Yeah, only a few of them have done that. CNN has learned, Ambassador, that top U.S. officials fear Vladimir Putin is waiting out the 2024 election, hoping that if President Biden loses, the U.S. will scale back its support for Ukraine. As Trump's former national security advisor, does that disturb you?
Well, it worries me because of what Trump has said about Ukraine and, frankly, what he said about NATO. But I think Putin's strategy is a little bit different. I think he wants to see if the Ukrainian spring offensive, now underway, really changes the map of the battlefield in Ukraine to any great extent. And if by sometime late September, sometime in October, when it's neither spring nor summer anymore, and things are still looking pretty much like they're in gridlock, I think Putin will then turn, as he should have done, frankly, last September, and say, you know, this war has gone on long enough. Let's have a ceasefire and negotiate a resolution, and then hope to turn the ceasefire line into a de facto new border. And I worry that in Europe, and frankly, I worry in the White House, that the temptation to agree to negotiation will take control, and we will end up with a ceasefire, and Russia will have a new border with Ukraine.
Well, we will see. Ambassador John Bolton, thank you so much for joining us.